Good evening. The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades. And this country is not alone. All over the world, we're seeing the devastating impact of this invisible killer.
Coronavirus is going on, but did you know that that's not the first pandemic in recent history? The first pandemic in recent history belongs to World of Warcraft and its corrupted blood incident. It all started in 2005 when Blizzard released a raid called Zul'Gurub, where a big shiny dragon lizard dude called Hakar the Soulflayer was released upon the world, and players had to band together to vanquish him back and get some brand new shiny swords. But unfortunately, much like your last Tinder date, Hakar the Soulflayer was packing diseases, corrupted blood to be exact. Corrupted blood was a disease that caused damage over time on players, causing them to slowly be drained of their health, and it also spread to people nearby. Does that sound familiar? Players defeated Hakar the Soulflayer, got their loot, and upon leaving the raid, they were meant to be wiped off the disease completely so it couldn't get into the main game. And that happened, but it didn't happen to their pets due to a coding error. So players returned to in-game cities such as Orgrimmar and Ironforge, looking forward to spend their loot because they just killed a demony dragon thing. Players went to auction houses, shops, banks in the cities in the game, let their pets out for a walk because they're nice. Unfortunately, these pets still had the disease and spread it to nearby people and their owners, and this is where the pandemic begins. The more players that got this disease, the more it had the potential to spread. Blizzard were aware of this problem, but there was no quick fix and they couldn't fix it, so it was down to the community to save themselves. Players would stand outside cities warning those coming towards them not to come in because there was a deadly disease going around. Inside the city themselves, there were player designated quarantine zones where priest players who could heal would heal those who were infected and nurse them back to health. Some players spread the disease on purpose because they wanted to cause trouble for the sake of it because they were little rotters, and some players unintentionally spread it as they travelled from all across the game to the major cities to see what was happening, and then would bring the disease back with them to where they'd come from. Soon, nowhere was safe. One big problem was asymptomatic carriers such as guards who could get the disease but not be infected by it. They would walk patrol routes that couldn't be changed, and so players could be infected by them just by walking into the wrong area. On October 8th, Blizzard managed to fix this coding error, and so the World of Warcraft was saved yet again. But this isn't where our story ends. Epidemiologists wanted to look at the data and the behaviour of the 4 million players who had been infected, and wanted to see if they could draw any parallels between this and a potential pandemic in the real world. Because spreading a disease to cause a pandemic is frowned upon, they couldn't see if there was any actual conclusions that could be drawn. But for these epidemiologists, Christmas came early last year when COVID-19 broke out. These scientists could look at how the World of Warcraft players had acted during their blood plague incident and see if people would act similarly in real life during COVID-19. The Warcraft players weren't far off. A disease that started in a remote location, a disease that spread from animals to human, a disease that spread through close contact, a disease that had people of differing risks, and a disease that had asymptomatic carriers. And whilst the corrupted blood incident is over, COVID-19 rages on globally. Stay safe, wash your hands, and wear a mask properly. The last thing we need is for Blizzard to bail us out of another pandemic.